Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I have interviewed a world champion before, but I have never interviewed a New York Times bestseller. Ladies and gentlemen, Mick Foley. So most people know you from Long Island, but you really got your start in Pittsburgh with Dominic DeNucci, where you trained.
Yep.
You were training with Shane Douglas, which people probably thought he was going to be, you know, the prodigy. What was that era like?
Well, we really enjoyed it. Shane and I really leaned on each other a lot, thought out ideas. We were lucky that Dominic put us in a lot of singles matches together. Learned a lot from the other guys down there at the school as well. But it was really a great environment for guys who wanted to be better, and Dominic wanted that for all of us.
I mean, who would have thought? Pittsburgh is a real hybrid for pro wrestling. Bruno Sammartino, Kurt Angle, Larry Zbyszko, Corey Graves, his brother Adonis does great in Mexico, and now you got Britt Baker and Thea Hale. It's a real hotbed over there in Pittsburgh.
Well, I guess in the same way that Pittsburgh was a hotbed for Western Pennsylvania and their quarterbacking. Some of the great quarterbacks in NFL history have come out of a relatively small area of Western Pennsylvania. It's, you know what it is, hardworking people, and so when they are in a stadium or whether they're at a VFW hall in Fairmont, West Virginia, Polka, West Virginia High School, they expect a lot out of their performers.
And then you made it over to World Class Wrestling in Texas with the Von Erichs. What was that experience like?
Oh man, I loved World Class. It was my second full-time wrestling territory. I really enjoyed it more than I did my first. Had a great crew of really good, experienced baby faces to work with, and that upped my game. Then I had a ring director, ring general like Gary Young, who I teamed up with, and I was able to learn from those guys every single night.
Did you feel the energy? Like, did you know they were going to make a movie about that time and MJF would be a star in it? A fellow Long Island guy.
No, none of us saw that. I always knew that the Von Erich story was stranger than fiction. I wondered if anyone would come along and do something, do it justice in Hollywood, and luckily they did with last year's Iron Claw. The Iron Claw.
So we're based out of Philadelphia. Obviously, ECW was a huge influence on our shop. What you did in ECW, yet a short time, is so groundbreaking. What was the experience in ECW like?
Well, the experience in ECW was one of just continual growth. Paul Heyman really encouraged his performers to take chances, not to worry about messing up. I don't ever remember being told specifically, don't worry about messing up, but that was the feeling I had, that you could try things, that you wouldn't be punished for messing up. The only thing you'd be punished for is being stagnant.
The shop is very friendly with the Sandman. We love your matches with the Sandman. There is a match in Florida. I don't know if you remember this.
Barbed wire.
There's a guy in the front row with his baby, and Sandman canes you perfectly and misses the baby by about 3 inches. He was so good with that cane.
We had, if it was the one in Fort Lauderdale, it was a really good barbed wire match, and we had really good chemistry. Sandman and I. We got in a couple arguments backstage, but when we brought it into the ring, man, we really put on a show.
We've heard that, but it's magic when you two wind up getting in the ring together. Let's stay in Philadelphia. Some people recognize this as one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. You and Shawn Michaels in your house, Mind Games. Philadelphia getting one of the great matches of Mick Foley, of Mankind.
Yeah, and a much different type of match than I'd done in Philadelphia before. I was really in the zone. I was lucky because, you know, at that time the WWE champion carried a tremendous percentage of the pressure of the company, and Shawn was really open to some of the unusual ideas we had. He put his twist on my stuff, I put my twist on his stuff, and it really helped both of us coming out of that match.
You and I both have the same favorite wrestler, but you and I appreciate music a lot. And a big Tori Amos fan, you could come to the ring listening to Winter. If you guys have never heard the song Winter, go listen to it.
Oh, come on, don't do that.
It's nothing that you would expect knowing his career.
I never actually listened to it on the way to the ring.
Well,
but I did listen to it on
As
many.
your hype.
Yeah, if you pick out like my 10 bloodiest matches, I'd probably listen to Winter before I watched, did 8 of them.
What were some of your other favorite bands?
Nothing else even came close, you know, like to that experience I had. But there was some stuff. There was some couple of Steve Earle songs. There was the live version of Youngstown by Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce, who's played this venue we're sitting in many a night.
And Nils Lofgren just goes off on the guitar solo. That would be one. Copperhead Road by Steve
It's one of my
Earle.
favorites.
You know, a few of those songs that make you forget about the pain, especially when you're doing cardio and cardio is not your strong point. You got to kind of try to keep pushing through that comfort zone. And for me, I needed good tunes to do that with.
Besides you, Terry Funk is my favorite wrestler, and I think Terry Funk is your favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
I could sit around and watch Terry Funk just like hang out on the ropes like it's like a hammock for like 10 hours. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Give us a great memory of Terry Funk. God rest his soul.
Well, the first one that springs to mind is following the fire incident in Philadelphia, which was, I think, either October of 95, right around there. October or November of 95. Or was it 94?
95.
Okay. Yeah, things didn't go quite how we'd hoped, and Terry ended up getting burned. I'm not talking about figuratively burned, literally burned. And he was throwing furniture of great size in the back. He wasn't quite ready to cool down, and in the ages before cell phones, I didn't know where I stood with Terry that whole next day. I even contemplated quitting the wrestling business. I was really devastated. Went for a ride out to the eastern end of Long Island with my wife. When we got home, there was the answering machine was on. The first message went, Cactus, this is Terry Funk, and listen, I'm sorry, I made a fool out of myself, and I'd just like to apologize, but I'll tell you what, we sure did give them something to talk about. So get over the burn first, and then look at the upside, which is we gave them something to talk about.
I was going to say, I think he forgave you. He helped you out against The Undertaker a few years later, you know?
Sure did.
You know, let's wrap it up. I know you got a plane to catch. You're a member of the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time. Madison Square Garden, 2013. Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Booker T, Trish Stratus, probably the greatest female wrestler of all time. So you got the man who sold out the Garden so many times, the 5-time champ, Bob Backlund, who's another one of my favorites. What was it like to be around such greatness?
I thought it was the best night also. I mean, to have Bruno and Backlund returning to the Garden at the same time, and then to have, you know, like we said, Trish, and to have Booker, that's pretty heavy duty. So I thought it was a great night. I was lucky that I got inducted at the Garden, where I'd had so many of my biggest matches, where I'd gone to see so many matches.
We've seen you see matches there.
So it's always nice when someone ends up being inducted in the building that meant the most to them, and that's where I was that night.
Can I get a quick Bob Backlund story? I love Bob Backlund. This is a personal question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've written this down, but the very first time I met Bob was when I was, I think I just turned 19. I was at my old high school, Ward Mobile High School, because they were holding a fundraising wrestling show. Bob was there, and I took a bunch of photos with Sergeant Slaughter, Larry Zbyszko, Bob Backlund, and I wanted to say, Bob, can you sign, and I had a magazine. He thought I was saying, Bob, could you sign this photo when it's printed? And so he just never met me before, gives me his home address, and I never did send it in to Bob, but that's the kind of guy he is.
Thank you so much. You've meant so much to my friends and family. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Who's getting me the Uber here?
All right.